Really nice. Welcome guys. Welcome guys. Happy New Year to all of us. This is the first one that we're having for the year 2026. This is WinTech, and of course, for those of us that have been with the community for some time or those that just joined recently, you know that we usually have these types of events at least every month. We try to make sure we bring something to you every month, something that will really add value as a member of the community. And yeah, like last year, I guess we ended the year on a very high note. We had the Brilliance 2025, which was amazing, and for everybody that was a part of it, thank you so much for gracing the occasion, and thank you so much for being a part of it. It was the first one, so of course, it's expected that the next one for 2026 is going to be bigger. So you don't want to miss that one. I'm already setting the marketing right now. So so everybody prepare, okay? Anyways. So welcome again. My name is Adama, and I'm a member of the WinTech community. We'll take our speaking panel after. Okay. So Wendy, please take it away.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And I want to use this opportunity to welcome everyone that is joining us today. It's really our pleasure to have you here. And on behalf of our WinTECH community, I am delighted to officially welcome you to our first section of the year, which is themed Reset, Reposition, Strategic Career Repositioning. We intentionally chose this theme because we believe that growth doesn't always begin with hustle. Sometimes it begins with rest, with reflection, clarity, and alignment. From that place, we can intentionally reposition ourselves to rise with purpose, confidence, and direction. For those that are joining us for the very first time, just a brief introduction about WinTECH Community. WinTECH is a community that is committed to empowering women and young girls in tech, as well as those individuals looking to transition into the tech space. Today's section is designed to give you space to pause, reset yourself, and gain practical insights that will help you move forward strategically, not by chance, but by choice. So once again, I want to use this opportunity to say a big welcome and thank you for being here, for investing in yourself, and for choosing growth. Let's take a deep breath and get ready to reset, reposition, and rise together. Thank you. I'm going to be handing it over to Adama to help us and introduce our speaker tonight, and we dive straight right into it.
Straight on. Welcome, Tony. We're really happy to have you here. I'm just going to give us the healthy and the robust profile of Doyin right here. She's a certified life and career coach, HR professional, and the author of Shush. Shush is a powerful, practical guide that helps readers overcome limiting beliefs through stories, affirmations, and reflective journaling. She's deeply passionate about professional growth. Doing empowers individuals, particularly immigrant women professionals, to silence their self-doubt and step boldly into their purpose. With a background in human resources, she specializes in helping professionals bridge the gap between effort and visibility. When she's not coaching or speaking, Doyin likes to bake and she likes to decorate cakes. And of course, as usual, always striving to inspire others to embrace the confidence and create meaningful impact. So welcome, Doyin. Thank you so much for being here. And the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Adama. I'm going to share my screen. And I hope no one asks me this time. So with that being said, I'm going to go right in, but I love icebreakers. And so I want us right now, if you don't mind, before we begin, I know we've had a very busy day. I want us to pause for just a moment. And if you feel comfortable about this, you can do it, please. I want us to close our eyes gently. I need us to take a slow, deep breath in. Most of us don't do that often. And I need us to breathe out. I know I can't see you, but I'm going to trust that you're doing that. Do that one more time. In and out. Still have your eyes closed. Now, I want you to imagine yourself 5 years from today. Picture where you are. That's 5 years from today. What kind of work would you be doing? What does your day look like? How do you feel when you wake up like 5 years from now in the morning? I want you, while you're closing your eyes and dreaming about yourself 5 years from now, I want you to notice how you are showing up. Are you showing up confidently, calm, capable? I need you to pay attention to the version of you that feels grounded, that feels clear. And while you're picturing that, I want you to ask yourself one quiet question. What helped me to get here? That's the picture you have thought about yourself 5 years from now. Simple question. What helped me get here? And I want you to hold that image for a few seconds. And whenever you're ready, I want you to gently open your eyes. Can someone put in the chat how they feel or what picture they had? I might not be able to see the charts, but I want this room to be one that is engaging. Today, everything we talk about is going to be about goal set, clarity, impact, and just helping us move from one step closer to the picture we have just imagined. And I want to remind you, you don't have to have it all figured out. I just need us to start with intention. So with that being said, I'd like to say good evening, everyone, once again. I'm sure we had a good day, and if not, it's okay. It happens. And I'd like to say thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to start by saying that this session is not going to be about working hard, because most women and every woman on this line right now, I'm sure we work hard already. But this session tonight is going to be about working more intentional. And let me tell you something, because I'm an HR professional and because I'm a life and career coach, I like my sessions to be very practical. So at least even if you don't go home with everything, you're going to go home with one thing. So what I need you to do, if you don't mind, get your pen, get your notes ready. And if it's your phone that you use to record or to take notes, just get that ready. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce myself briefly. I know she said something about me, so I'm not going to go too much into it. You all know I'm an HR professional. I'm a certified life and wellness coach. I'm also the author of the book called Shush. And I would like to mention also, I know you all know, I am also an immigrant woman like you. And I've had to reset, I've had to reposition, and I've had to rise in multiple times in my career. And I think I'm quite qualified to be here speaking to everyone, because also I am still also on a journey. So everything I say to you today, I'm also going to be talking to myself. Because at one point in my life, I realized I was doing excellent work. I was working very hard, but guess what? I'd lost my voice. So I'm going to go into my next slide to save us time. So today, this is going to be my session outline. I'm not going to bore you with this, but at the end of the session, I want everyone in this room to be able to walk away with either of those things. One, for you to identify what needs to be reset either in your narrative, in your mindset, or in your career, or in your life. Two, I would need you to understand the gap between working hard and strategic visibility. And on this call, you'll be able to clarify how you are currently positioned right now in your career and how you want to be perceived. And we're also going to learn how to reposition ourselves intentionally for either that promotion we want, or that pivot, or that leadership role that we want. We're going to talk about strategic goal settings. And at the end of the day, you would have the opportunity to practice how you communicate your value. And then you would leave with at least one clear action that would help you rise in your next career. Can someone just put something in the chat? I always like my session quite engaging. And like I said to you, get your pen and paper because I'm going to be asking you quite a number of questions today. So my first slide today, I'm going to be talking about, because remember the title is We Reset, We Reposition, and We Rise. So today we're going to be talking about career misalignment. I'm sure someone will be saying, what is Doyin talking about today? We're saying rise, we are saying reset, you're saying career misalignment. But I would like to say to you that a lot of times we are either misaligned in our career, and this occurs most times when we feel disconnected between our current professional reality and where we want to be. Fiction between who you are, what you're currently doing, and what you want to become. And most times for immigrant professionals, this often feels like a glass ceiling where you're working so hard, harder than everyone around you, but you're moving slowly because the work you're doing is not the work that gets you noticed. I need everyone to note tonight that career misalignment always shows up a long time before you get to a point where you hit the wall, or before you get to a point where you feel like you're burnt out. But a lot of times we do not listen. We don't listen to our instincts telling us, we don't listen to how we feel because of a lot of reasons. And I'm going to touch on some things briefly because I need us to understand career misalignment and silence in our lives, in our careers, so that it helps us to be able to appreciate the next step we're going to go into. So sometimes, a lot of times in our lives, in our careers, career misalignment manifests itself in quite a number of ways. And I'm going to touch on some tonight. So one, it can show itself as when your skill and value are misaligned. And this is a case whereby you're using your skills that you're good at, but it doesn't bring you fulfillment, or it doesn't align with your personal value. So in that case, people call it skill value misalignment. There's also another thing called effort visibility misalignment. I'm sure it explains itself. Some people call that visibility gap. This is when your output, your effort, it's not translating into career progression. I don't know if anyone can see themselves in what I'm trying to explain right now. Please, Tim, in case anyone has anything that they want to share that they've put in the chat, please, you could call my attention to it because I'm not tracking the chat right now. But I want this to be engaging. So be putting in, oh, this feels like me, or, oh, I've experienced this before. That helps us to know that we are all in this together. And sometimes when we're talking about effort visibility misalignment, or called the visibility gap, when you've put in your effort, but it is not translating to career progression. I've experienced it before, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call have experienced that. Or when you are a high performer at your work, you're technically sound, you know your job, but you are never invited to those strategic meetings or those leadership discussions. Does that sound like anyone on this call right now? Another one is what we call the skill trap, where you're constantly or consistently being assigned tasks. So every time they think of someone who will get the job done, they think about you because you're good at it. But at the end of the day, they don't identify you as a leadership potential. Can anyone feel that? Or does it sound like you? Oh, she'll get the job done. She gets it done fast. But then they're promoting people. You're seeing promotion announcements and your name is not there. So these are kind of things that we call career misalignment. And there's also something called a cultural or environmental misalignment, where you feel like an outsider in the organization. I'm sure a lot of us immigrants can feel that. And it is very common with us. And the same way also, you feel like, oh, I have to mask my true identity or my cultural background to fit in. This is called the value disconnect. And a lot of times it leads to burnout because you are not yourself at work. So these are some ways by which career misalignment shows itself. And there are red flags that we need to take note of in case you are saying, oh, this doesn't look like me. So one of the red flags is you are very productive, but you feel unfulfilled. You are well respected at work. Number two, you're well respected at work, but you are not stretched. No one comes to say, can you cover up for me as a team lead when I travel? No one comes to say, oh, we are thinking about promoting people, so we want to put them in acting roles, but no one ever comes to you. Or number three, you are so busy working, you always have work to do, but you are disconnected with your purpose. You just feel like, I'm working, I'm going to work so I can pay bills, but this doesn't feel like what I have been called to do. This is so disconnected from my why. Those are red flags. Or you feel like you have outgrown your role, but you know what? You're staying in there because one, you're feeling like, oh, if I leave, will I ever find a job, another job? Or you feel like, hey, I have to stay loyal to these people. They were the ones who hired me when I came into this country newly, or so many reasons that we give ourselves. And now, switching my gears a little bit to silence. I'm sure you wonder, why is doing bringing silence to this? I'm bringing silence to this because we are all women. And a lot of times, misalignment is common amongst women. It happens to men, but when you check the data, it is common among women. And I'll tell you why. One, it's social conditioning. We are being conditioned to be grateful and not to ask for more. Oh, you should be thankful that you even have a job. You should be thankful that they even hired you. And then you do not want to ask for more. Sometimes it could be cultural norm, such as, oh, we are being rewarded for compliance as a woman over confidence. So in other words, oh, you had better obey, you had better just stay quiet. And it could also be something called the immigrant survival mindset, where we always prioritize stability. I'm not saying leave your job today, but I'm just saying some of the things that comes up. And a lot of times, what is the role of silence in our career misalignment? Silence always shows up when we do not even know. One, and how does it show up? It shows up by us not sharing our aspiration clearly at work. We keep quiet. Another way it shows up is that we are not challenging decisions or assumptions. So if someone says this, you're like, okay, yes, okay, I'm not ready for promotion. Challenge. So what do I need to do to move? Or you're not asking yourself, where else do I need to look to get my career aligned? Or we are waiting to be noticed in ourselves intentionally. For a lot of times, women, we choose silence because we have learned it a long time ago when we were growing up. I don't know if we have a lot of people from different cultural groups in here, but I know one thing, that a lot of women from different countries, not only Africa, I've spoken with a lot of people, even from Iran, a lot of countries, even as a coach, that they have learned as that silence is how they should grow. Because it's a way to, one, belong, it's a way to survive, it's a way to avoid risk. So at some point, silence must have protected us. But after a while, silence stops benefiting us. And so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit to the part that I said. I'm going to start asking questions. So what I need you to do right now, my first reflection question to you is, where might silence be costing you? I'm going to try to paste it in the chat. I'm going to try to multitask. The question is, where in your job, in your career, in your life, might silence be costing you something? Is it your growth? Is it your visibility? Is it your fulfillment in your career? I'm trying to navigate this, God help me, to be able to paste the chat in here so that you guys can see it, but it seems...
Okay, so Doyin, we're
Yes.
going to try to help you out here.
Thank you so much. So
yeah, the question is we'll drop it in the chat.
Sounds very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So the question is, where might silence be costing you? Is it growth? Is it visibility? Is it fulfillment in your career? Think about that. And if you're bold enough, put it in the chat. And that leads me to something that I like to do most times. It is called the alignment audit. So I want to pull back the curtain for you to be able to experience this. Because I can tell you for sure that in my experience sitting in HR promotion rooms, where we have to decide who are we to promote, or who does the business want to promote, we don't just look for people who are working the hardest. We are looking for people who have unique values. And I need you to start thinking, because I'm going to move us to our question. It's called the alignment audit. So number one question is the perception test. And please think about this very well. If you asked your manager to describe your top 3 contribution, let's say last year, because this year has just started. If you ask your manager to describe your top 3 contributions last year, will they match with the 3 things that you are most proud of in 2025? That's the perception test, first one. Because of our time, I'm going to quickly run through the next. The second one is the growth test. Does your current workload consist of maintenance task, whereby you keep things running, or does it consist of growth task? That's moving the needle for the company. So that is called a growth test. Does your current workload consist of a maintenance task or a growth task? That is the growth test. The third one, it's the authenticity test. And I need you to ask yourself this question. Are you spending more energy fitting in at work, or are you navigating corporate culture than you're actually performing your role? Are you trying to fit in? Are you just trying to fit into the culture of the company, or you're actually performing your role? And if you don't mind, those 3 questions, I need us to put it in the chat. If you think you scored 3/3, just put 3/3. If you think you scored 1/3, put that. Whatever it is, please, I need us to be engaged. I need an engaging class today, if we don't mind, because at the end of the day, that gets us moving forward. So while you're trying to put that in, I've talked about misalignment. I've talked about us going through an audit. I've talked about silence, which is a lot of things which we women have grown up knowing. And we then get into this country, we think silence will still help us to gain the visibility that we need. Unfortunately, this part of the world needs you to tell your story and tell it well. You move this needle, you need to let your boss know you have done it. And the way you need to let the people who are most important know. So now let's move into reset. This session of this slide of reset, us resetting not only in our career, but also our mindset. And the question is, what does resetting mean? Please note this today. Resetting is not quitting or starting over. Resetting just simply means realignment. And I'm sure someone will be saying, what does realignment mean? Realignment simply means adjusting your direction without discarding your experience. And sometimes realignment could be reconnecting your work with your values. So whatever it is you do, is it connecting to your values or your strength? Because then it makes it easy. Realignment could also be making intentional shifts, not a drastic one. Because some people say, Adedoyin has spoken right now, I'm going to quit. Please, that's not how it works. It's an intentional, you're making intentional steps, intentional shifts to get you to where you are supposed to be. So in other words, realignment does not mean quitting your job or starting from scratch. It means that you have to check whether you are working or you are showing up, or you are positioning yourself in the right way that you should be, that leads you to the goal that you want to achieve. It just simply means that you are redirecting yourself towards the goal that you want to achieve. So in other words, you keep your skills, you keep your experience, you keep your credibility, and you simply just adjust the direction so that they can work for you and not work against you. And I'm going to use a simple analogy. I love analogies. I love storytelling. I love affirmations. I love reframing. And I want us to think about it. Think of it like you traveling on the road and you are adjusting your GPS when you find out that you missed your way or you feel like you're on the wrong path. When that happens, you are still on the road, aren't you? You're still moving forward. But what you're doing is that you are correcting the direction that you are going so that you are able to arrive at the destination that you are supposed to be. Do you carry your car on the head and say, oh, because I've missed the road, so I'm going back home? No, you still keep moving forward, or maybe you digress, but you ensure that you are going to destination. At the end of the day, you will get to your destination. You might get there late, but for crying out loud, you got there. You might get there on time, but the good thing is you got to the right place you are supposed to be. And that's exactly how us realigning our career is. And realignment sometimes, it can also be us refining ourselves or reinventing ourselves. Many of us on this call, we really do not need to work harder. All we need to do today is to pause. And that's what a lot of people don't do. We need to pause and then what? Reset. And how do you reset? It means that you have to question yourself. One, you have to question the story you're telling yourself. Are you telling yourself you are no good? Are you telling yourself, oh, this is the place I will be? Are you saying that I cannot be? You're telling yourself I cannot be a manager. You're saying that that promotion will not come, or I cannot get a job that is better, or I cannot be happy in my career. Is that the story you're telling yourself? So you need to turn the story around. And you need to ensure that your mindset is in the right place. Your mindset about your what. Because a lot of times people will not tell you what you're what. You need to tell yourself your what. And please, if you don't remember anything at all, kindly note this. Reset begins when you give yourself the permission to question the parts that once made sense, but right now does not fit anyone. I can repeat that. Reset begins when you give yourself the permission to start questioning the path or that career that once made sense before, but right now does not make sense anymore. And if you want to reset, you have to reset your mindset. You have to reset the narratives you're telling yourself and the direction that you are going. So I'm going to run into my next reflection question for you. It's quite a number, but I'm just going to touch one so that we can move to the next slide. Ask yourself this question. Call yourself by name and say, what am I currently tolerating in my career that no longer aligns with who I am becoming? I can repeat that. What am I currently tolerating in my career that no longer aligns with who I am becoming? Then the next question. What belief or fear has been keeping me quiet or small in my career? When you think about that, I have lots of questions, but I'm going to stop on that so that we could move to the next slide. If you're true to yourself, something inside of you will make you restless. You will pause and you will start to make a plan to move forward. I'm going to move to my next slide. So after we have done a reset, there's something we also need to correct. A lot of times, some people will think that effort, when I put in a lot of effort, it equals to visibility or it equals to opportunity at my place of work. Let me tell you that is not true. And someone might be asking me, what is effort? Effort is the quality and quantity of work that you deliver, either behind the scene or in front where everybody sees you. But that's the effort that you put in. And what does visibility mean? How your work is being seen and understood and remembered. Who associates your name with the result? A lot of times we do work, someone else takes the glory. And visibility is whether the decision makers can clearly articulate your value. Then what does opportunity mean? Opportunity could be promotion, it could be a stretch role, it could be leadership trusting you. It could also be access to influence and decision-making space. That is opportunity, where they allow you to sit at the table. Or being considered before a role is being posted. So they're thinking about a role and they're like, oh, Ijoma will do well. Adama will do well. This is the person perfect for this role. Before they post the job, they're already thinking about you and they're like coming to meet you because they have seen what you have done. In summary about this, effort is what you do. Visibility is what others see. And remember, opportunity is what decision makers trust you with. Hard work is important, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times, and I need you to listen clearly, everyone, hard work is not sufficient for advancement. If you don't remember anything, take that. A lot of times we work hard, but if no one sees what we do, if we don't talk about what we do, if that silence affects us to be able to tell our stories of success, it doesn't open any door. So the gap between what we do and what others notice can limit our opportunities. And trust me, visibility at work is not about you showing off or doing more than your role. It's about making sure that your contribution is being recognized in a thoughtful way. And there are different ways by which we can think about this. So when you are doing that work, ensure that you are documenting your results. Keep track of your achievements, milestones, and the impact of your work. Have a bragging, is it spreadsheet or a bragging note somewhere where you are documenting your results. Keep track of your achievements, of milestones, because a lot of times the brain forgets because you've done a lot of things. And that's why at the end of the year, people will be asking themselves, what did I even achieve? Because they haven't documented that. But having a clear record of this helps you communicate your contribution accurately. Number 2, you need to communicate your outcome and align them with priorities. So you share the impact of your work in a way that shows that it supports the organization goal. So they're not just working in isolation. So everyone is going this way, you are going that way. And you think, oh, that's an outcome. It has to align. Number 3, you need to build network. So right now we're on this call. Being a part of the organizers, as in being a part of registering to be part of this group that has organized this, is a way to build network because you really do not know where that next opportunity will come from. So build network strategically, collaborate across teams in your place of work, share insight, help people. When they're having meetings, don't let silence keep you quiet. Because trust me, all of us on this call, we have things to say. We have ideas. We have a different perspective. So share that in meetings. Number 4, let others speak for you. When managers or your colleagues highlight your job, it amplifies your visibility more. And don't forget that the reason why there's a gap is because managers promote what they can clearly see. I can repeat that. The reason why you're working so hard and nothing is happening is because managers promote what they can see clearly. And don't forget, organization rewards impact, not just activity. And so the question I have for you right now, I've come again, right? If a leadership role opens tomorrow in your place of work, would the right people immediately think of you and know why they thought of you? I can repeat that. If a leadership role opens tomorrow, would the right people immediately think of you and know why? So we're going to move to the next slide that talks about reposition. I've talked about misalignment. I've talked about reset. I've talked about silence. I've talked about a lot of things. Now we are moving to the part that is quite interesting, where we get to reposition ourselves from the efforts to a strategic visibility. I like to always tell people, repositioning is the bridge between potentials and opportunity. Repositioning is about being strategic with how you are seen. I'm not saying do, I too know, right? But the point from everything I've said, document, communicate, let them see you. So positioning is how others understand your value. Oh, so in other words, you had this project that you had done, you were successful with it, you need to put together the data point, you need to share it where it needs to be, you need to talk about it, so that when the time comes and they're thinking of someone who can achieve goals, they're thinking about you. Your position does not automatically communicate your readiness to grow. You must connect your work to the outcome leaders care about. And I'm going to quickly talk about some common mispositioning patterns. One, when a lot of people see you as dependable, but you are not strategic, that is a form of mispositioning. Or when you are being seen as being supportive, but you are not influential. You can't influence people positively. Or when you are being seen as busy, but you are not impactful. So let's ensure that none of these are things that we do in our career. A lot of times in HR, I've seen a lot of capable women being overlooked. Not because they lack skill, but it's because their value was not clearly articulated or it didn't align with the business. So like I always do, I'm going to leave you with a reflection question. How are you currently positioned? And does it match where you want to go? So you start to ask yourself, and I'm asking myself, Adedoyinsola, how am I currently positioned? And does it match where I want to go? So if it doesn't match, we will move to the next slide that talks about strategic goal setting. So if we talk about those beautiful things, misalignment, repositioning, stop being silent, opportunity, but at the end of the day, once we do not even know how to set strategic goals, everything feels like, oh, I just attended another session today. It's same. So now, in this slide, once you have clarity on your alignment and how you want to be positioned, the next question becomes, what am I intentionally working towards? So I'm going to pause a little bit and let's start asking ourselves in our careers. You might be a junior person right now. You might be a senior person. You might be in your mid-career. Ask yourself a true question. What am I intentionally working towards? And you could be an entrepreneur. You have your own business. What are you intentionally working towards with your business, in your career, in what you're currently doing right now? So goal setting at this stage is not about you adding more to your plate. I mean, we women, we're very guilty of that. We just keep adding and adding and adding, especially us that we like to do a lot of things. It's not about adding more to your plate. It's about choosing goals that support where you are going, not just about being busy. And many professionals set goals based on expectations, comparison, or urgency. So a lot of women, we will say, that person, we both started our career, that person has grown. We start to compare. We start to say, I need to, it's 2026, I need to say, no, that's not how we're going to do that tonight. Strategic goal setting is different. It is rooted in alignment. It is rooted in visibility. It is rooted in opportunity. And strategic goals move you closer to the opportunity and not just being productive. And I love frameworks. I'm going to teach us a simple framework tonight. And I need you all to mentally think about this. I want you to test your goal to 3 questions I'm going to ask you today. Number 1, does the goal that I have or the goal that I will set, does it reflect who I am becoming? I can repeat that. Does the goal that you have set for yourself or the goal you're going to set today, does it reflect who you are becoming and not just who you have been? Number 2, positioning. With this goal that I want to set, will it increase my visibility or will it increase my credibility or my readiness for the opportunity that I want? So in other words, if we are aspiring for the next level or something else, with the goal that you're setting, will it increase your visibility? Will it increase your credibility and your readiness for the opportunity you want? And the third test or question is called visibility. Is this goal, is it achievable within your current capacity or context? So in other words, some people will be dreaming like, okay, Doyin has said, let's set goals. And they start to set goals that it's just beyond where they can reach. You don't want to break down. You don't want to burn out. So if a goal does not pass any of these, at least 2 of what I've asked you, it may be a distraction rather than a strategic goal. So a very short example that I'm going to give you. So for instance, if someone says, I want to do more and prove myself, does that sound like an aligned goal? I need you to put it in the chat. Someone says, I want to do more and I want to prove myself. Does that sound like an aligned goal? Absolutely not. It's an unaligned goal. A strategic goal will sound like this. I want to lead one high impact project this quarter that increases my visibility with senior leadership. I'll give you another example of a vague goal. Someone says, I want to get to shape. So for instance, I've been saying, I want to lose weight. I'll just say, Adedoyin saying that the goal she's setting, I want to lose weight. And that's my goal. Trust me, that's a vague goal. It makes sense and it becomes smart when you say, I will go to the gym for 45 minutes, 3 days a week for the next month to improve my maybe vascular or cardiovascular health or something. It makes it smart. So don't forget, whenever you're also making a smart goal or strategic goal, you need to ensure that it is smart. I'm sure we all know what that acronym means, right? The one that says it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable or attainable, it has to be relevant, and it has to be time-bound or time-sensitive. Do not forget that. And so now, I'm going to move us to my next reflection question. What is one realistic goal you can commit to in the next 60 to 90 days that supports your positioning and visibility? What is one realistic goal you can commit to in the next 60 to 90 days that supports your positioning and visibility? You can put it in the chat if you want to, but it's also okay for you to write it there. And once the goal is clear, the final question becomes, how do I communicate my value and show up confidently as I work towards that goal? That is where rising comes to play. So with that, we move to our next slide that says rise. So we're going to be rising with our voice and we are going to be rising with intention. We're going to be rising in every area of our lives, career, our lives, and all that we plan to be. So rising is an internal decision before it becomes external. So you must have risen in your mindset. You must have risen in your narratives before it begins to show. So rising requires clarity about your value. All those things I've said before. For you to rise, you require the courage to speak up, even at meetings and where you need to speak up. Rising requires us to intentionally act and not just waiting. So some people will just say, they will see me, I'm putting in the work. You need to be intentional. You need to apply all the things that I have said. And trust me, everyone on this call, voice is not volume. Voice is clarity, consistency, and confidence. Rising begins when you start to silence those limiting beliefs, when you start to silence yourself and your self-doubt, and you start to trust that you belong in that room. And you start to trust the voice that tells you you belong. Rising means stepping into a place of influence. It is taking control of the visibility that you need, making sure your successes are noticed and no one is taking your glory. When you rise, you shift from simply putting in effort to creating impact and opening doors for yourself. For you to rise, you must be able to, one, articulate your value. You must be able to articulate your impact. And then thirdly, you must be able to articulate your aspiration. I have a practical thing that I wanted to teach you. How do we articulate our value? So for instance, a good example would be like, I help so person achieve outcome by creating impact. So I'll give a very good example for what I've said. A very good example would say, I help organizations build strong, inclusive people strategy by aligning talent decision with business goals and creating sustainable performance and engagement. And so someone will say, this is English. But in whatever way you want to put it, ensure that you are writing at least one sentence or value statement and begin to work towards that. And my reflection question for this slide is, what would change if you stopped waiting to be invited and you started positioning yourself intentionally? I can repeat that. What would change if you stopped waiting to be invited and started positioning yourself intentionally? With that, I'll move to my next slide. We're almost getting to the end of this. So after you have risen, you don't want to rise in isolation. Integration brings it all together. Everything I've said before. Integration is about connecting all the dots, connecting all the pieces. Your effort, your visibility, and the opportunities you're pursuing. When you put them together, it begins to align. Your hard work is recognized. Your visibility leads you to the right opportunity. And then you begin to see tangible results. So I want to ask you a question today. What is one intentional action you will take in the next 30 days to reposition your career? I can repeat that again. What is one? I'm not asking for a lot, because a lot of times when we do a lot, we can't pull it through. Do you understand? So what is one intentional action you will take in the next 30 days to reposition your career? Example could be you requesting for a strategic conversation with your manager about your growth. Oh, trust me, it's a very difficult conversation to have. Even me as an HR person, I would have to talk myself, you're going to have this conversation. So I can now imagine people who do. So now, example of that is requesting for a strategic conversation with your manager. Please, what is your plan for my growth? Or you going to update your LinkedIn and your professional narrative once we end this call. Or you speaking up in a meeting with intentions. You speaking up, people expect that you won't speak, but this time around, you have prepared for that meeting, you know what to say, and you've listened in, and you speak up without even apologizing. You don't say, oh, sorry, no, that's not how. Looking at your slide, have a thought, or I want to support what you've just said, or I believe there are better ways to go about this, and then you you share your idea. Another thing you could do is you seek visibility on a high impact project. You initiate a career conversation with your manager. What is your plan? Is that growth? Fine, yes. The moment you cross that line, know that they will start to look at what you're doing to be sure that yes. But the point is you've had that conversation. Stop waiting for permission. And with that, I'm going to move to something that I love to share with my clients, my coaching clients. So as we wrap up my slide today, I wanted to introduce you to something. It's a reflection tool. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. If you're familiar with it, you can put it in the chat, say, I know this, I know that. I use it a lot during my coaching. It's called the Wheel of Life. After this call, or in fact, Wendy will put it in the chat. Please download it. It's my gift to you because I want us all to rise, reposition ourselves, and to reset. This wheel, as you're looking at it, it covers a lot of areas of our lives. Our career, I'm sure you can see support system, our relationship, and so on, spirituality. The reason this matters is because your career cannot operate in isolation. Your finances cannot operate in isolation. So what you do, how do you use this? Ask yourself, evaluate yourself. In terms of my career, where do I fall? You see it's numbered 1 to 10. Am I happy? Am I in a good spot? If you're in a good spot, put a star at 10. In terms of support structure or system, it means your friends, families. Where am I? Do I really have the help that I need to move forward? You can give yourself a 10 if you think that's where you are, or a 9. The next thing with health, the next thing with relationship, the next thing with rest and renewal, because as women, we need to rest. Once you are done putting numbers to all those or putting stars, the next thing I need to do is to connect the dots. And when you're done connecting the dots, ask yourself a question. If this wheel were a tire on my car, that's the car of my life, will it move smoothly or would it be a bumpy ride? And that will help you to know what you need to start working on to ensure that it is the 10 and it's a complete and a perfect wheel. I know at the beginning I told you to close your eyes and think about, picture yourself in the next 5 years. So based on what you have learned today, what is one small step you can take to move forward to that version of yourself you saw? And don't forget, you already have the skills. So this is about you just showing up with them. And my final question for you today is, what is one way you will stop being silent and start being intentional in your career? I can repeat that again. What is one way you will stop being silent and start being intentional in your career? Never forget, reset is about awareness and honesty. Reposition is about strategy, and rising is about courage and choice. Thank you so much for joining me. And once again, I am Adedoyin Abitoye. You can follow me, and it's been a pleasure being here today. Thank you. Over to you, Wendy. Do people have questions?
Amazing, amazing, amazing. This is awesome. Like, seriously, I was noting down a whole lot. In fact, I can't even imagine how this has been. I hope everybody in this call today is feeling the same way I am feeling. Yes, I can see those pop coming up. Yeah, the love emojis, the like thumbs up, clapping, and all that. Please, let's keep them coming, because to be honest with you, this worth thousands of dollars. If we are to rate it, it worth thousands of dollars. But look at us here. Doyin has nailed it. Like, she really nailed it, talking about how we can rise, how we can reposition ourselves, and also accelerate in terms of our career, repositioning and all that. So this has been a wonderful one. But I'm not going to take the spot because, again, I'm going to hand it over to Adama, but I want to use this opportunity to say a big thank you, Doyin. This has really been amazing. You did absolutely well. Thank you so much for pouring and also sharing from your wealth of knowledge. It's not easy. Honestly, I know a lot of people here. I know the chat is being, you can't be able to chat to everyone. But again, you can as well drop your chat. If you want to drop your chat, select the co-host and the host. You will be able to drop your chat. Doyin will be able to see your chat. And if you have questions, maybe there is something you want to ask, you can use the reaction button beneath your Zoom. You will see reaction. Click on it and raise your hand. We'll give you the opportunity to speak, okay? And we'd love to hear someone ask her 1 or 2 questions. That would be great, okay? Please, if you have any question, use the reaction button, raise your hand, and we are going to give you the opportunity. Adama, over to you.
Of course, of course. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I think Wendy has said it all. It was an amazing session doing. I can't even explain how I'm feeling right now. I was typing like a machine when you were just talking, and I was just putting it on the chat. So thank you. So I didn't want anything to fall off. I wanted to make sure I got as many notes as I could. Thank you so much. This was really eye-opening. And as Wendy said, if we have any reactions, please by all means go ahead and raise your hand and we will take the questions one after the other. So right about now, I have Kosiso Ijezie. She has a question. Please, Kosi, please go ahead with your question or your feedback.
Thank you, Adama. Thank you, Doreen. Actually, when you were speaking, I was just imagining myself in my workplace and just putting everything. Sometimes we put in a lot of effort, and at the end of it all, you are like, what am I even getting out of this? Like, it's as if productivity levels are low and things like that, even after you've put in all the effort. So my question is, I know you mentioned previously before the start of the session that you are an immigrant, and that is very relatable. Now, I want to ask a question. How can you overcome this syndrome? There's this thing they call it, imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Exactly. Especially when you are an immigrant and you're trying to you've got this thing, but then when you're trying to do it, how can you overcome imposter syndrome without feeling like you are overdoing it?
Okay, thank you so
Especially
much.
for immigrants.
Thank you so much for sharing. And the reason why I was smiling is because that is chapter 7 in my book, Shush. I know I'm not marketing here, but Shush is a part of, it's my life now. It's going to be 1 year that I wrote that book and launched it by February. It's chapter 7 of my book. And back to your question, how do we deal with imposter syndrome? And I've always said to people, and it's data backed, it's driven by data, that women experience more imposter syndrome than men do. You can argue. My husband has argued this with me, and I've tried to show him data and all that. And trust me, yes, it is. Some people are good. Some people are outliers. They don't experience this. So now, that's your question. How do we address this or stop it? The point is we can never totally get rid of imposter syndrome, but we can overcome it and we can silence it. And it's even in one, I just did a reel on Instagram some days ago that I have on. It talked about that. Imposter syndrome showing its face in the lives of immigrant women. One, you need to name it. Is this fact? Is this just fiction? So in other words, a lot of times imposter syndrome happens when you're going to do something very big or you're doing something new, which is normal. A voice tells you are not able. You need to silence that voice and say to it that I've done this in the past. So it means that I can do this. And then tell yourself, yeah, it's a learning curve, but yes, I will do it. 2 is you need to also be able to remind yourself of the successes that you have made in the past. Because when you show it and say, yes, I've done this before, I can do it again. It might be different. It might be in a different terrain, but you need to anchor it to evidence. That's the word I always use. Anchor it with evidence. Because remember, a lot of times when you go for interviews, they'll tell you, they ask behavioral questions because they want to believe that what you've done in the past, you can do in future. So the same way also in dealing with imposter syndrome, anchor it with evidence. It will come and you tell it, shut your mouth. I belong here. I am going to do this. I will do well. In fact, I will shock you. And then the third thing I like to say is that no matter how much the imposter syndrome is speaking to you, take one step towards another. So action also silence it, because action builds what? Confidence. If you sit down somewhere, okay, so it's just like, oh, okay, you're working out, or okay, you want to grow muscles, but you always sleeping in your bed, you don't work out, you don't carry weight, you don't do anything. Nothing would happen. But if you consistently take those little steps, you're using your weight, just continue. Before you know, also, my arm is looking like it's making sense. So, this my football seems like it is reducing. So the same way also, whenever imposter syndrome speaks, you need to take those little actions that continues to build your confidence. I hope I touched on it, and I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much. She's giving multiple thumbs up, so I think you definitely nailed it. You
Thank
nailed
you.
it. I don't know if anybody else has questions, but I have a question. I don't know, it may not be, but I just wanted to get your thoughts
Okay.
around this. Now, I feel like the context of the session was pretty much around me, my current role, and all of that. How about, many of us here are looking to switch or change roles or change careers. And yes, that imposter syndrome comes because you know that you're probably not well experienced in this role, but you have kind of like sold yourself in a way that you can do the job. Now, how do we position ourselves in a way that we're not too imposing in terms of, okay, we say we want to be visible, so we should put ourselves in the right rooms at the right. So, how do we navigate that entry point and grow into the time where we're more comfortable? Should we be aggressive from the start, or should we pull back, study your environment, and know where to strike? To just give us your views on that type of scenario.
Okay, so I like to use a lot of proverbs. I like to use a lot of analogy. I know you've asked a lot. It seems like the multiple questions in what,
I kind of like,
yeah,
yes.
the multiple questions in what you've asked. You've asked about pivoting, and you've also asked about being in a new place
Yeah.
and wanting to show. Am I correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I'll focus on being in a place and wanting to show and be visible. So there's something people say: be gentle as a dove, but be smart as a serpent. And I'll tell you why. You get into a new place, you need to, in as much as they hired you for the skills that they saw. So you're not going there and be doubting yourself and be a dunce. You get your job done. You dot your I's and cross your T's. But then you're going to calm down a little bit to understand the nuances, the culture, the people. And then I always say something to people: if you want to make friends, you also need to make yourself friendly. So in other words, while you're there, you're learning, you're also making sure that you are everybody perceives you as a good team player. Not because you're stupid, but because you are ensuring that the impression they have of you, it's good. One thing I tell people is that a lot of times people get laid off from work. I'm not talking about this economical layoff and all that. Sometimes they just will fire some people because everyone in their team cannot work with them. Not because they're not technically sound, but because they don't have the soft skill to get along with everyone. So back to what I said: one, be calm, be gentle, learn, understand the culture and the nuances, be a good team player, be ready to help. Oh, do you need some help? Do you understand? That kind of stuff. People can know that you are dependable. But then you are wise because you know your strategy. And from everything I have said, ensure that you're documenting your wins. If you did this project, because you will forget, document that. When you're done, send a summary to your manager. So this is what I've done. When he's going to go and show his own brag, whatever, to his own boss, he's saying this. And because you've sent him a documentation, he can never say that you didn't do it. So I've said a lot of things. There are a lot of things we could do, and 1001 people can tell you different things. But the first thing is understand the culture, understand the nuances, be kind, be nice, be smart, be gentle, but be very smart. So, and be strategic and apply everything that I've said about visibility. Make sure your work is showing impact. You're not just being busy for busy's sake. Make sure you have a story to tell. Make sure those who are concerned know what you're doing without bragging. I know a lot of times people think we Africans, most especially Nigerians, we are too much. So learn to balance. And then you also need emotional intelligence. So you know when to speak, you know when not to speak, you know when to jump in, you know when not to, so that you don't have enemies as we are trying to grow. Yes. And the most important thing, be true to yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. Very helpful. So we'll just take two more questions because we're fast spent on time, especially because we lost some time in the beginning. So we're going to be very quick. The first question, I have iPhone 2. I don't know what your name is, but please go ahead and speak if you like to just mention your name first before you go ahead, that would be very helpful.
Sorry, I was unable to change my name, I think because of the
Yeah,
technical
okay,
issue
okay.
or so. Yeah,
Okay.
so my name is Titi. I just have a simple question. Thank you, Doyin, for enlightening us today. So my question is when um in your job in your place of work, when you know you've really done well, you followed all the you've done really well, like you said, you've gone beyond what you are supposed to even do, and during the yearly appraisal, you are not well rewarded. So how do we go about it? Is it something we can, is it something we should be silent about, or is it something we should speak up about? I just want to
Thank you so much for the question. Sorry, I missed your name. So when
Titi,
you
Titi.
Titi, thank you so much for the question and thanks for the nice words.
Mm.
When you mean you are not well rewarded, can you be more clear and specific so that I know how to respond to the question?
So I don't know, in my workplace, I don't know of other people's workplaces. In my own workplace, every year, around this time of the year, what you've done in the like last year, yeah, especially if you've been in the company for long, they will kind of appraise, put maybe some dollars, something,
Okay.
yeah, monthly.
So you mean salary increase based
Yeah,
on
salary.
performance?
Yes.
And you think you have worked hard, you've worked so
So
well, but
well,
when
yes,
your increase comes, it's below what you expected. So the
yes.
first thing I would say is, one, do you even know what the benchmark is for performance? So in other words, those who are, because I remember when I used to work in Amazon, we understood that those who got TT, there's something we call like top tier, they get a particular percentage. Those who get this, they get this particular percentage. So you already know what to expect. So the first question is, do you even know what is associated with, what percentage of increase is associated with performance? That's the first thing. So that we're not assuming. So do you know?
Yes, because
Okay.
I like they changed my manager. The person that used to
Okay.
manage me before was changed, and what
Okay.
she usually how she usually appraised me is kind of different. Yeah, last year I was quiet because yeah, I was moved to the new team last year. I got a new manager, right? So
Okay.
last year, I was mayor lower than what I expected, but I kept
Okay.
quiet.
Okay.
And I'm still under the team now, and it's the time of the year. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm
Okay.
just putting the question out there that if it
Okay.
do happen, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is it. I think we missed it when it happened the last time.
Yeah.
We should have had a conversation with the manager to say, thank you so much for this, but I just wanted to understand. Okay. And don't forget, one is, did you have a track record of every impact, everything you have done?
Yes.
So with
Yes.
that, if you have that to say, okay, you send me a mail. I want to
Okay.
schedule a time with
Okay.
you. Do you understand?
Okay.
If you had done it then before. So to say, but it doesn't mean you can't still do it again. To say,
Okay.
I would like to schedule a time with you just to connect on whatever it is you want to call it. So once you connect, you go in with your facts. I always tell people, facts speaks louder.
Okay.
Right? Go in with your facts, your data, and everything you have done, and say, okay, so based on my appraisal this year and everything you have written, this is what you appraised me as, but this is what I have been doing. I know you're new. Maybe you are not, you don't have oversight on this. I thought to share this because I think this is not showing my work the way it should, or the value or the impact I bring. So you have this conversation. It could turn sideways or it could help you. But that's where we talk about silence, and like, you need to start speaking, but you will
Okay.
do it
Okay.
in a way where you are going with your facts, so that, and if possible, have a script so that you are
Okay.
not talking out of emotions, you're talking with data. So that is that. So if you had done that previous year, this manager will have sense that
Okay.
it seems this girl knows what she's doing. This girl is going to come to me with data again. I need to ensure that I am crossing my T's and dotting my I's well. So, but now, if it happens again this year, I would say schedule a time. We've spoken about not being silent again. You need to go communicate your value to this person and say to him, and thank God we have ChatGPT. Tell it to help you a structured, professional way to have this conversation. Have
Okay.
the conversation. And if and when you find out that they still do not value you, then maybe it's time for you to start asking yourself those questions that I put across to everyone.
Okay.
I'm not saying you leave your job, but you start.
No, I understand.
The point is, if you are planting a seed on a wrong soil in a bad environment, no matter how long it's there, it will not grow. And you want to grow. I'm not saying you have to be aggressive, but you understand, have those conversations. It's a very tough conversation, but it helps you understand how you're being perceived. And no matter how much you struggle, they're trying to say that you will never grow. So you need to start asking yourself, are there other places that I could move? Are there other things I can do? Or is there something else I can do differently?
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that was helpful.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
And all the best.
Thank you very much, Titi. I hope your question was answered. I believe it was. So last question we'll take from Uju. Please go ahead, unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening, and thank you so much for your presentation, Doyin Abitoye. So I hope I'm able to articulate my question because it's a whole lot, and I think I will be speaking from a place of vulnerability. And I want to speak based on clarity and, resetting. And I don't want to believe in that quote that says, "Jack of all trades, master of none," right? I also don't want to believe that I have too many interests. I'm an immigrant, doing my survival job for the sake of financial stability. But while at it, I became a data analyst, last year. And into it, based on the job demand and the likes, by next month, I would incorporate AI, artificial intelligence. And then on this journey, I'm creating like YouTube videos based on what I've learned in data analytics because I have to refresh my memory because, I have to sharpen my skills because I will forget. That's just it. And then I'm still job hunting. Job hunting is a very bad place for anybody to be. Now, while at it, I'm preparing for job search interviews and questions just to prepare myself for the future. Not to talk about being a mom and, we still have health goals in place and diverse things. Now, based on, am I doing too much? I know, like most of these things, I feel like it's related that I can't leave one for another. And I'm this kind of person that I can block my goals. Like I do time block, and sometimes it's overwhelming. I look at, all the goals again. I try to reset over. I think it's like more like a cycle of resetting on and on. I don't know if there's an end to this. I don't know if there's a solution. And as Kosi mentioned, sometimes imposter syndrome kicks in because you feel like you're checking all the boxes, doing everything right, and then the reality keeps kicking in and you keep going back to your shell. And then you come back again, reset that, no, I'm defeating the devil. And then you are doing it right. And then, when results, you are doing a lot. But the result is just trying to play smart on you. I mean, I've said a lot. Please help me answer this question or whatever I've said. Just say something before I go crazy. Thank you.
Uju, thank you so much for being vulnerable and for sharing that with us. I'm sure a lot of women can relate with what you've just said. I'm also someone who juggles a lot. And that's why my focus really is helping immigrant women professionals through my coaching because we juggle a lot. Imposter syndrome creeps in. We think we're doing more. We are stressed. We're juggling family. And that's where a lot of times we tell people you need clarity. You need someone to help you see and prioritize. And the point is, I understand you're searching for a job. So this is like, I don't know how long you've been in Canada. I don't know the phase at which you are. So every immigrant has a phase in their journey, right? So if you don't mind, Uju, how long have you been in Canada? Hi, Uju.
Yeah, I've been in Canada for 2 years and a few months.
Okay, so it's still early days. Trust me. So you need to give yourself grace. Do you understand what I'm saying? Pat yourself on the back and say, yeah, I'm doing too much. until it makes sense, Uju, you will not drop any of those things. I can't tell you to drop anything. But what I will say to you is you need to sit down and ask yourself, what do I want and where do I want to see myself in the next 5 years or 10 years? Once you are clear about, at least let's start with 5. Don't let us complicate things and go to 10. If you are clear about what and where you want to see yourself in the next 5 years, and you make sure that everything you are doing, no matter if it's survival job, it is connecting to that dot of 5 years. It's a long story. We can connect later. We can talk about this. And then the most important thing is also be true to yourself. Give yourself grace. It's just early days, right? Give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing well. But then be self-aware. Where do I want to slow down? There's some days that I just would stay on the bed and I'm not posting on Instagram. I'm not coaching any. I've blocked my calendar because I want to breathe. I don't want to break down. Do you understand? I don't even want to cook. So be self-aware. Know when your body is telling you slow down so that you don't break down. I can say a lot. It can be long, but Uju, in case you want to connect, we can chat later. You can connect with me. Trust me, I'm very open. We can get you where you want to be. Do you understand? But it's early days. Give yourself grace, ma'am. But just know where you want to be in the next 5 so that you can work towards that. Imposter syndrome will creep in, but then you silence it. Is that okay? And I'm sure we would all smile soon.
Of course. Thank you very much, Doyin. Thank you so much. Uju, your question is answered, and please feel free to connect with her afterwards because there's clearly a lot to unpack. So,
Yes.
it will be helpful if you can just find the time to connect and have more clarity on, on your next level. So in the absence of anything else, I believe we are coming close to the end of this session. Again, we want to say a huge thank you to Doyin for honoring our invitation to be, with a part of the session today. We are very grateful. This has been eye-opening. This has been amazing because there's no way most of the questions that you shared with us today would ordinarily come to us on a normal day. This is something, and that's why we are here today. And we're definitely leaving with a new mindset. We're leaving with some direction on how to tackle the next level of our lives. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you in the WinTECH community. And yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. I don't know if Wendy has anything to add before we call it a night.
Yeah, thank you, Adama. And thank you once again, Doyin, for doing justice to this section. Yeah, that's all. And please do well to follow us on all our social media handles. We do share sweet nuggets that will help you based on your career. And again, we have our Elevate mentorship program that will be coming up soon. Anytime you see that and you want to be mentored, or maybe you want to be a mentor to coach another woman, it's going to be an opportunity for you to sign up. And there are so many other programs that we have coming up within the WinTECH community as well. So if you are listening tonight and you want to be part of WinTECH community, you will see a link in the chat as well. Click on it and register. The team member, like I said before, will be able to get you into the community. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for making this section so impactful, asking valuable questions. And thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you to all the WinTECH community team members that are here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we hope to have you more in our next section coming up.
Yes,
Thank
please
you. And
stay tuned. There's so much we have in store for the rest of the year. We're definitely having events every month, so please make sure that you keep your ears closed and keep your eyes closed, because once the links are out and everything, be sure that you register, because we always ensure that we bring you the best from the WinTECH community. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.